Yeah, look, Dean's at home currently, so he's been through some treatment and is still going through treatment over the last, several weeks. Popped round and saw him on Saturday, and I know a couple of other guys, Paddy Steinfort and the coach was in on Sunday, just called through and said g'day. Look, he's in really good spirits. It's great that he's able to be at home at the moment with his family. So look, all our support's with him at the moment. And look, we really look forward to the time that he can get back to work. So, the temporary measures, I think at the moment there's probably three key areas, I reckon. There's development. Dean's, big part of his role was the development side of things. Match day, and then there's the overall sort of strategic planning. So we had a bit of exposure with that last year with Rob Harding being able to step into that from an opposition analysis. Match day means that I'll move back into the box temporarily, so I'll be able to try and give Sando a bit of a hand. So I'll have to dust off the old shoes, Andrew, and head myself back into the coach's box. So, and from a development perspective, we've been able to share the workload through Paddy Steinfort, Ian Callanan coming on board. We've been able to have some pretty extensive cover internally to be able to do that. From a list management side of things, from my area, we've put on another full-time person in Melbourne, Steve McChrystal, who's been with us for nearly 20 years. So we've got enormous depth and confidence in what Steve's done over the journey for us. So we believe that we've got some really good temporary measures in place, and as I said, we look forward to the time that Dean gets back to work.
Is there a time frame at this early stage?
Not at this stage, no.
Do you know if it's the first time that he's been at home?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Harry. It's probably not for me to comment any further on that.
What's your charter for you, David, in the box?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. Probably going back more to sort of monitor, I guess, the number of different ideas that get thrown around, and help Sando and the guys probably work through a number of those different, scenarios where the priorities lie. Is it a midfield issue? Is it a forward issue? I'll be guided by Brenton on that, to be honest with you. But I think it's another set of eyes to work out, how we're going to look. We'll move. Doc will come up. Matty Clark will move into the box as well. So that'll strengthen our midfield groupings, and that was always going to occur. You just need two eyes on the game in regards to midfield, whether it's specific structures or whether it's general field play about how the midfield are run and how they're engaged in the press or your offence. So, and therefore that'll leave us with an extra set of eyes from my side of things in the box, just to filter some of that information for Brenton.
So who's the bench coach
now? Well, I think what we'll do is probably Phil will go on the bench with Paddy. So Phil will be able to manage the match day running of the interchange and the numbers and the rotations through that. So, I mean, as most clubs, we've got the rotational system there in place. It's all geared electronically. So, but Phil will manage the bench.
Is there anything of Rob doing it again?
Yeah, well, Rob will still be there. So Rob Harding will be part of the opposition. So again, we'll use his intellect in that area again. He had some terrific exposure for us. He's got a great footy brain. So, again, that allows us, I think, to Rob's foresight in perhaps what the opposition may be doing, where they're sort of starting to hedge the flow of the game, what the likely outcomes. So he spends a lot of time analysing what the opposition's what if scenarios are, so that can bring some really good intellect into the box in that regard.
Talking about the list, the young guys coming in, how are they going, and are there any real chance to play in round one?
Yeah, look, we've been really pleased. I think credit goes to our coaching group, the way they've structured, their particular group. We've tried to keep the coach to player ratios, really tight, so that they get more engagement. We believe that their footy knowledge is probably better than it has been in the past. There's been a lot more work put into our younger group coming through early on about the game knowledge, and it's such a big step from SANFL or TAC Cup. Just even the language and the lingo, it's the way the game's talked about even. Matty Crouch has been terrific. He's been really good through the match simulation areas. Charlie Cameron's showing some good signs. Alex Spina, has played some really solid footy through the back end. I mean, they've all had their times, Battersby, Riley Knight, his run and carry capacity. So, look, we've been really pleased with the way that they've actually come in and attacked the pre-season. Like everyone, we've got smarter over the years, so we manage the loads a lot better than we have before. I think in years gone by, they pretty much get thrown in, and if you can survive and stand up, it's a good sign. Whereas now we're a lot more specific with the loads and the differential of where they've come from and where we want them to get to. It's a bit more of a process now.
So how many new players will we see this week? Adelaide and Betts play, and
yeah. Would you class them as new, or would you class them as rejuvenated?
They're recruits.
Yeah, they'll play. Yeah, they'll both be in the side this week. And then, look, I think Brenton will probably touch on, but we'll probably manage some loads, I think, Andrew, with a couple of our older crew. So, again, that's exciting for the new guys that have been able to push forward. A Van Berlo not being in the side allows someone else to play a key role, in the midfield. So, whether or not that's a Kerridge or someone like that, we might be able to get a look at an Atkins or a Siggins as well. So it's good exposure for them.
Will Crouch and Riley Knight and those guys get some game time this week as well?
Yeah, look, I think they're around the mark.
Yeah.
Selection's Thursday this week. So I know that the guys have sort of been chipping away with a squad internally of about 30. And I think the fact that, I really like the NAB Challenge format this year. It gives you some real commonality with what you're doing. You've got the 3 games, where you planned, you're not sort of chopping and changing with certain rules. So I think the format is really good. And that way I think it's easier for clubs to manage the time frame of when they can get some of those younger guys in. We might have, for example, Brenton might put the best group together in the last practice match. It might be second week. So it allows the coaching group, I think, to really strategically manage the position of your pre-season.
Who's ruled out to injury? Obviously Walker, Riley, Van Berlo, along the two.
Yeah.
Is anyone else that you've already
look, I'm not 100% across it, to be honest. There's a couple there that I think they'll wait and see how they've sort of progressed through the whole campaign, and that'll be the management issue. And I'll probably need to leave that to Brenton, to be honest, till Thursday, because I might mention someone who actually ends up rocking up and being available. So he'll probably cover that off on Thursday.
David, Brenton's a high rotation coach. What do you guys, particularly with that coaching box mix, how do you handle that?
The high rotations?
Well, he was high rotation, now you're being limited.
Yeah.
You have assistant coaches who call whether the guy comes on or off, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
You've got 3 or 4 blokes making those calls. How do you make sure that they don't go over the limit?
Yeah, look, it's substantially changed, I reckon, Michelangelo, in the last, say, 12, 18 months, where it's probably moved more to a necessity of rotating certain guys or players through positions at a time frame, more so than the assistant coaches calling it. It's a lot more coordinated through one central point now than it ever has been before. And so therefore what you have to do is you have to tool up your playing group to play a multitude of positions. Whether you use a system of just your backs, your mids and your forwards, or whether you have a group of 14 players that tend to rotate through a certain number of positions is up to each club. We have our own system, which I'm not going to go through, but it tends to be more a managed area through one particular port of call, and then it's a matter of making sure that when you get players on the ground, you can actually manoeuvre them and rotate them back into positions that the assistant coaches need them in.
So who does that fall on in your box?
Well, that'll come down through Nick Poulos's area and Paddy Steinfurt's area. So Matty Clark spent most of last year with the rotational system, so he's got a pretty good knowledge of how we coordinate all of those movements. Does less make it easier to manufacture? Maybe. I think it just sets the coaching group a different challenge as to how you now maximise the amount of time that you can get the guys in the right spots on the ground for the maximum amount of time.
Is there a change in game style at all this year, the way you guys go about it?
For us,
yeah.
Probably not a visible one, I don't think, Andrew. I think it's a matter of refining and continuing to. I don't think you'll see us go from pressing to not pressing, or from going out of a press back to a man-on-man. I don't think there'll be a substantial game plan change. We want to be a bit more efficient with the ball. We need to make sure that we're able to penetrate defence quicker. So does that mean that you try to kick the ball a bit more efficiently? might mean you have a couple of smaller mechanisms to move that ball a bit quicker through those periods of time. But maybe it's probably quite hard to pick it up, visibly. Brenton wants to restrict scores and kick enough to win games. I think, he's probably on record as saying that, you can't get stuck in defence. You need to penetrate as quick as you can. And look, most clubs now have got certain calls that they're able to monitor the speed of the ball movement as well. Players are a lot more in tune now with being able to make calls like that on the ground, and I think our group is heading towards that. They've got a large range of experience now that we can call on through different lines of being able to manoeuvre and control the speed of the game themselves on the ground.
Maybe last one, guys.
Those of us who've got dodgy memories, when was your last time in a box?
I think the last time, Michelangelo, was when I went back in when Neil left us, 2012. Mind you, I've looked at a lot of footy since then.
Is there 2 or 3 players that have really impressed you in pre-season and look like they're taking the next step?
Yeah, there probably are. Is it fair to probably comment?
Everyone's talking about guys like Smith and Carey.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Sean McKernan's had a really good pre-season. I think he's been terrific in the condition that he came back, and he's put his best foot forward. I think in regards to that forward, ruck sort of role between him and Josh Jenkins, he's been one that's probably caught my eye. And I think, Matt Crouch is the other one. Probably being able to see him deliver what we've seen for a couple of years, from a recruiting perspective, to be able to plonk it on the ground. And, look, I'd have to say without doubt, Eddie Betts has been fantastic. His sharpness, his style of play, he actually makes a lot of our guys better again. But it's not only that, I think his engagement as a player to pass on some of his knowledge has been fantastic.
Couldn't expect to see more of Sean this year. Obviously last year, that controversy towards the end, and he really a bit between the teeth. So
Absolutely, and that's what I've been impressed with. He's and I don't think it's in that regard in that I'm in the last year of my contract. I think that he's now at a point where he's been in the system for a while. He's got fitter. He thinks he can help us, go places, and it's credit to him that he's put himself in this type of condition and contention for selection at the moment.